It was just another regular night in the city, you know? The streets were all lit up, but damn, it was cold out there. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you long for the warmth of home. So, when I spotted that yellow cab cruising down the street, I didn't hesitate to flag it down. All right, I thought to myself, time to head home and chill. I jumped into the back seat of the cab and settled in, ready to relax after a long day. But as soon as I closed the door behind me, I realized I wasn't alone. There were already two other guys sitting in the back, chatting away like they owned the place. No biggie, I figured, just gonna mind my own business and enjoy the ride. But then, out of nowhere, she appeared. The old lady. She seemed to materialize out of thin air, her silhouette barely visible in the dim light of the street lamps. She looked like she had stepped straight out of a spooky movie, with her hunched back and gnarled hands. "Hey," she said in a voice that sent shivers down my spine. "I'm late. Mind if I hop in?" I glanced at the other passengers, but they didn't seem to react. They just sat there, staring straight ahead as if they hadn't heard a thing. What the hell was going on? Before I could even form a response, the old lady reached into her purse and pulled out a wad of cash. "Here," she said, thrusting it into my hand. "Take this and catch another ride." I was taken aback, to say the least. Who was this lady, and why was she so insistent on getting into the cab? But I didn't have time to question her motives. She had already opened the door and was climbing into the back seat, her eyes fixed on some unseen destination. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do, but then I shrugged it off. It wasn't my problem, right? I had my cash, and there were plenty of other cabs out there. So, I stepped out onto the sidewalk and watched as the cab drove away into the night, the old lady's silhouette disappearing into the darkness. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens blaring outside. I groaned and rolled over in bed, trying to block out the noise. But it was no use. The sound was too loud, too insistent. Reluctantly, I dragged myself out of bed and stumbled over to the window. What I saw made my blood run cold. There, on the street below, was the same yellow cab from last night. Only now, it was nothing more than a twisted wreck of metal and glass. Police cars and ambulances crowded around it, their lights flashing in the early morning light. I stared in shock, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. Had there been an accident? Were people hurt? And where was that old lady? She had been in the cab last night, hadn't she? As I watched, a sinking feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. I knew, deep down, that something wasn't right. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. The old lady. She hadn't been in the cab at all. I rushed downstairs and out onto the street, desperate for answers. But the scene was chaos. Paramedics were rushing around, tending to the injured. Police officers were interviewing witnesses, trying to piece together what had happened. I tried to ask around, to see if anyone had seen the old lady, but no one seemed to know what I was talking about. It was as if she had never existed, but I knew better. I had seen her with my own eyes. As the day wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over me. Who was that old lady, and what had she wanted? And more importantly, where was she now? I may never know the answers to those questions, but one thing's for sure, I'll never forget that night, and I'll never be able to trust a cab ride again.